Today's episode is brought to you by Weaver Leather. Hey everyone, and welcome back to the Ride Podcast. I'm Michaela.
And I'm Nicole.
And for this episode, we are chatting with Gil Friedman, who is the owner of Mental Athletics. And I know both Nicole and myself really appreciated this conversation. I've actually just started to work with Gil on my own to work with my own mental abilities as I go into the barrel racing arena. It's kind of something that's a little newer for him working with a barrel racer, but it's kind of helped me out a lot, and I haven't even gone to a barrel race yet. So it's been a lot of fun working with him. And I know that just listening to this conversation, you guys should be able to learn a lot. Whether you go into the show pen or you're just needing to build that confidence with your horse outside the show pen.
Yeah, like Michaela said, barrel racing is a new venture for him. He originates from the reining world. He actually lives in Israel, so uh, we had to play a little bit of phone tag to figure out what time works best, since he was, I think, like 11 hours ahead of us or something. But he, as he builds mental athletics, he's wanting to reach out to all of the disciplines and work with people in every, kind of background of riding, English, Western, horse owners, however he can help. But yeah, his main priority is working with people who are competitors. And I think what I loved about this conversation is that we forget about ourselves in the horse industry, whether it's fitness, if it's mental, if whatever. We are constantly focused on our horse, but in reality, we are just as much part of the puzzle pieces to figure out the solution to what's going on. And it's not always just the horse. And so I think Gil does a really great job of explaining, the importance of doing mental exercises and preparing yourself mentally, and the difference it can make with your horse. And he comes from a horse training background. He worked for some of the top professionals in the country here in the United States. And so he, comes into it knowing what it's like to walk into that show pen and deal with those mental, issues that come up when you're showing.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's the thing. It's like the foundation of mental athletics is all the same across the board, whether you're in the cow horse, the reining, the barrel racing, whatever the event is, the foundation is the same. It's just a little bit different as you go about it because, the difference between a reining pattern and a barrel racing pattern is, you know, one's a timed event, one's a scored event, and you have different places to make up for different things in both events. So it can just be tricky on your mind to do the different sorts of things. And I know I've showed in both events, so I know the differences. And it's just, yeah, like I said, it's tricky. And some of the exercises that he has you do, if you decide to go out and work with Gil, they feel a little silly at first. I mean, you do these exercises and you feel silly, but at the end of the day, it really, really helps you. And I like to consider myself a pretty serious competitor, and to know that I'm not alone in having these, what I feel like is failed mindsets is it's nice to have somebody out there that can help me through it.
Yeah, and sports psychology, I mean, that's not a new term by any means. I think there's been a lot of sports psychology in all sorts of events and competitions and sports. But, I think sports psychology is really new for the horse world. We forget that it's a sport. And I think he really does a great job of helping people with those issues and challenging them to, work on it. And yeah, so I was really excited about that, because when I was growing up, I had a lot of mental issues when it came to showing. I was constantly nervous. I was constantly afraid of messing up. And A lot of the time I would be my worst enemy, and it would, I would go into the world show finals and mess up. And um, I wish that I had a resource like him when I was showing as a kid. And I'm really glad that I have a resource in him now as an adult showing in a new event too, because that's a whole new set of nerves and, trying to understand the mental aspect of showing cow horses versus the all around, where, your main goal is very different.
For sure. And not to navigate too far from the reigning subject, but to dive into some current events, let's talk about the Cactus Classic that just happened.
Yeah, so I was actually in Arizona when the Cactus Classic was going on. I was there for more personal reasons, but the Cactus Classic was huge this year. It took place in Scottsdale, as it always does. And I think something that really got everybody excited is that it was the only run for a million qualifier event. So if you go to the website, there's other events that they have qualifying events, but those are for the rookie classes. Those are for for the non-pro classes. This was the only event where you can compete in the main event, run for a million. So it was huge. Everybody brought the coolest horses they could, find and compete. And so, yeah, the qualified list is Danny Tremblay, who I'm pretty sure Danny actually qualified last run for a million because he won the shootout. So I think you got an automatic invitation to the run for a million if you won the shootout. But some of the others were Andrea Fapani, Jason Van Landingham, Cade McCutcheon, who actually won the first run for a million with, he actually tied with Craig Schmersall. And then Matt Mills was also in there, which a lot of people probably recognize him from the TV series. He was also, somebody on our podcast. So if you haven't listened to that podcast, go back and listen to it. He does a great job of explaining how cool it was to be on the TV show and, competing in this like inaugural event and getting to become friends with Taylor Sheridan, who I think everybody knows. He's the creator of Run for a Million. He's the creator of Yellowstone. He's the creator of The Last Cowboy, you know. But anyway, at this event, they had 10 more riders who qualified. It was Sean Flaherty, who I believe was either like first or second to go into the show pen, and he ended up winning it. Scored a 228. So anybody who thinks that you can't go early in the draw and win, Sean just proved you wrong. But some of the other guys were Cole Price, Casey Deary, Nathan Piper, Martin Muehlstatter, Arno Honstetter. Gina Schumacher was another one that qualified, and Gina's actually a non-pro. So that was really cool to see not only a female, but a non-pro in the mix with some of these top guys. And Gina's name might sound familiar because Gina lives in Europe, and her dad, Michael Schumacher, is one of the most famous Formula One race car drivers, I think, in history. I don't follow it a ton, but he's a really big deal. And she's done some really cool freestyle stuff in the past where she dressed up as her dad, which was really fun.
That's so neat.
Yeah, so if you Google her name, you can see her freestyle run. But yeah, she dresses up in the Formula One outfit, and her horse had, racing stuff all over it. It was pretty cute. And then the other people who qualified were Tom McCutcheon, Brian Bell, and Craig Schmersall, who again I mentioned earlier. Craig was tied to win it with Cade the first year. So those are the people that are going to be competing August 17th through the 21st and might take home a lot of money.
Yeah, I'm so pumped to get to watch that. Well, won't be there in person, which would be a super cool event to watch in person, but just to watch the event, that will be super exciting. Another event that is for sure going to happen is the 2021 Quarter Horse Congress. So, very pumped about that since we missed out on that last year.
Yeah, I think last year was, I think maybe the second time in history that the Congress hasn't happened. I could be wrong, but I'm pretty sure that's what I read. And coming from the all around background, the Quarter Horse Congress is one of the most special events an all around rider, quarter horse rider can participate in. And as much as I don't miss going to Ohio in October because there was days where it was raining, there were days where it was 70, there was days where I was getting my horse warmed up and it was snowing and 10 degrees outside. So don't miss the weather, but I do really miss the atmosphere of the Congress because it really is magical. I don't know how else to explain it. That the winning the quarter horse Congress is one of the most special memories I have of showing horses in the show pen. And so, yeah, I was a little sad when I heard, even though I'm not really competing in that industry anymore, I was still really sad to hear that it got canceled last year because of COVID. So, very excited to see that it is back on the schedule for 2021.
Yeah, I think absolutely anybody who shows all around or quarter horses is very, very excited to see it back on the schedule and to head back to Ohio, even though, like you said, sometimes the weather isn't fun. But who knows? Maybe 2021 will bring some nice weather for the event in October.
Another thing that's happening at the Quarter Horse Congress, and I don't have the numbers, specific numbers in front of me, but um, they're putting more money into the reining as well. So you're going to see some pretty big reigners showing up at the Congress. And you have, I think actually, so Ohio is the birthplace of reining. I don't know if you knew that, Michaela, but it is the birthplace of reining. So the Quarter Horse Congress and reining have always had a tie-in together, and for a long time it was really big, and they're trying to bring reining back to its roots, so they're adding a lot of money into the reining events at the Congress. So
Yeah, that's really cool. No, I vaguely knew that Ohio was the birthplace of reining, but I didn't realize that, that relationship there. So that's really neat. Another event that is currently happening right now is the NRCHA Stallion Stakes being held in Las Vegas. So that's currently happening, and they are seeing some record entries there. So that's pretty exciting. I think having COVID last year shut down all of the spring and summer events really built up some anticipation for these spring and summer events for 2021.
yeah, it was the nice thing about the horse industry is that everybody kind of comes together and keeps on going even when the world literally stops. So there's some super exciting stuff. Everybody's excited to be showing again. They have $198,970 in added money for the events at the Stallion Stakes. The open division is huge. They have a ton of people competing in the open division. I know I was in Arizona last week. I took a load of horses there so that I could just go and have fun and ride with all the top guys out there. And they were all getting ready to get ready for the Stallion Stakes. Everybody was working. All the clients were out. It was busy at the barn. So I think everybody was really excited to get to Vegas and go back to showing and doing the things that we love to do.
Yeah, and the entries are up by more than 200 over last year's previous show, which was moved to August due to COVID. So they moved it back to March in Las Vegas this year and have more than 200 entries over the previous year's show. So that's super exciting to see all of these people gathering and going to the event.
Yeah, and I think you can probably live stream it too, which I'll definitely be doing because now that I'm getting involved in that sport, I'm really loving just learning more about it, seeing all the horses that are out there and all of, and then supporting the people that we love, like Brad Bergemeyer. He's going to be there. And, um, you know, it's really, it'll be good to watch. I think it's going to be a really exciting show, and it's already started. So if anybody's interested, you can probably head over to NRCHA's website and find the live stream and the draws and everything else that you might want to enjoy the show. But
Yeah, I know. I'll be watching because as you are growing in the cow horse, I come over and ride with you so much that I'm like, oh my goodness, this is so much fun. Maybe we'll do the cow horse. Me and my little barrel horse might just, you know, throw our hat in the ring and chase a cow every once in a while. Just kidding.
you you
That's not
say
our talent.
you say little barrel horse, but your little barrel horse also is bred with cow blood. So it's
Yes,
not
she is.
totally out of, it's not totally crazy to maybe do something. But Michaela's horse is so funny because every time we're working the flag, that horse is hunting the flag and watching it. And it's so funny because I'll be sitting next to her on my cow horse who has won about $50,000 in the cow horse. And he's looking up at the sky and anywhere but the flag, not paying attention. And Michaela's barrel horse is sitting there, like watching every move it makes. And so I'm like, we need to put that mare on a flag and see what she does. But
Yeah, maybe
Uh,
one day. Maybe we'll get there and she's either gonna be terrified of it or just really love it. So we'll see. We'll report
in
back if that ever happens.
we'll post a video of it on our Instagram. In personal news, I mentioned a couple times that I was in Arizona. We also got to do another on-demand shoot with Brad. I'm so excited for the content. We were able to have a couple videos with Monique Potts and Brad. Monique is our natural horsemanship instructor for on demand, but she comes from a cow horse background and she still enjoys competing and riding cow horses. So her and I actually went to Arizona together. We took a load of horses out there so that we could just ride with everybody, and we were just like, well, we're already out here, so we might as well do another on-demand shoot with Brad because the weather is beautiful. We've got our horses here that we can partake in the video shoots with, and just have fun. And even Brad and I get to do a little bit more together. Anybody watches on demand, I was the novice rider that's learning the cow horse for the first time in one of those video series. That was about a year and a half ago. Um, and so now in the new videos, you get to see me go down the fence. So we went from never working a cow in her life to going down the fence and circling, and Brad was really excited to get it on video, my first fence turn ever. So hopefully those videos will be coming out this summer, I think, or fall. And but yeah, it was super exciting. So much fun working with Brad. I can't say more than enough good things about him and his family. They're the sweetest people in the world. And Brad was taking time out of his really busy schedule trying to get ready for the Stallion Stakes to help me, this person that just kind of showed up at his doorstep with 3 horses. And he was, more than accommodating, and he did way more for me than he needed to because he was busy working with all of his clients. But it was a lot of fun. I had my horse fall over at one point, so I've been told that I am now an official cow horse rider because you're not really official until you slip and fall circling.
Yeah, you sent the video, and while I love you, Nicole, it was the "Is Hot Wheels okay?" that I was like, "Oh," and then I finished watching the video and I was like, "Oh, they're both fine. They just got back on and Brad was ready to coach you right back up again."
Yeah, thankfully the slip was just nothing more than just a little slip. So everybody was okay. Everybody was fine. And yeah, I just kind of gracefully tumbled off. So nothing got tangled up with anybody, and we were totally fine. But if anybody watches the cow horse, they know that sometimes that happens. We try to avoid it, but it happens. But that stuff happens all the time. Like I have a friend that broke her leg just walking on her horse, and he tripped and fell. Like it's horses.
It's part of riding horses. Another thing about Brad, though, that I want to mention is the fact that Horse and Rider on TikTok. We love TikTok here at Horse and Rider. And Brad is one of our superstars because we get little clips of him in our on demand videos of Brad just doing the sweetest, cutest things you could think of. And they just make great TikToks. So if you want to see some behind the scenes of Brad at the video shoots, just being silly Brad, go check us out on TikTok.
And as much as I would love for this podcast to be a Brad appreciation podcast, because I really do, he's a wonderful person, and we're so thankful to have him on our team and part of our, Horse and Rider on demand, as a contributor. We should probably get to this interview. So we'll take it away from there.
Just as you and your equine athlete continually strive for the best, the Synergy by Weaver team works tirelessly to design high-performing gear to support your partnership.
You can be confident that the Synergy by Weaver line of products is crafted from the finest materials working together in synergy with the latest technology and innovation.
You'll have peace of mind knowing your Synergy by Weaver product is backed by a 90-day test ride guarantee.
Visit your local Weaver Leather dealer to view the Synergy by Weaver Leather line today, or visit www.ridethebrand.com/synergy.
guys, and welcome back to another episode of The Ride. Today we are sitting down with Gil Friedman, who is actually over in Israel. So thank you for joining us when we have such a time difference. But Gil is the creator and of Mental Athletics, which is a really cool idea to me because we focus so much on our horse and physically being fit, but there's so much that goes into it mentally, especially when you're performing. Gil has a background in the reining. He's worked for some of the top reining trainers here in the United States. And so I'll let you kind of explain more, Gil, since this is your program. But thank you so much for joining us today.
Thank you for inviting me. Thank you very much. So, I'll tell you a little bit about what I do. I primarily focus on the mental aspects of performance and focus on the wide range of equestrian sports. I believe that we all are in a pursuit of peak performance, but the way I see peak performance, we look at three different aspects: horse ability, rider's ability, and rider's mindset. Now, the horse ability and the rider's ability are quite easily seen. I mean, we can watch a rider ride his horse and have an opinion about that. However, the rider's mindset is the invisible aspect of those three. Yet, rider's mindset has a strong effect on rider's ability, and therefore we believe that has a certain effect on horse ability. So we believe that we're going to put some, I would say, attention and focus and knowledge about what we call the untalked about, the unseen part of performance.
And I actually learned about you because my friend did one of your workshops that you did with the Oklahoma Reining Horse Association. And she had nothing but amazing things to say about what you talked about during the workshop, what you, the homework, I guess, that you kind of provided her with to work on afterward. And so she actually had called me and she was like, "Oh my gosh, you have to start talking to this guy. He's perfect for the horse and rider." She had nothing but amazing things to say about it. So can you kind of explain a little bit about the workshops that you do and how it is that you work with people? Because your clientele is like internationally, literally, like you work with
Yes,
people all over the world.
yes, I'm fortunate to say I do. Um, so that's the thing. I've been a competitive rider since I'm 8 years old. I was born and raised in this industry, and the mental aspect always talked to me. It was something that I was aware of, it's interested me, and it challenged me in many ways. About 7 or 8 years ago, something in me told me to go to this direction, and I was still primarily a horse trainer. You know, I had horse in training and non-pros and showing horses, but I started doing this slow shift towards focusing on the mental aspect. But then came the biggest question for me was, how can you get to as many people around the world? I mean, I live in Israel. It's pretty much, you can consider it as an island because I'm a 11-hour flight from the US, at least a few hours flight from anywhere in Europe. So how can you get to those people and try to give them at least 1% of knowledge of their ability to step up their game? So then I said, all right, so this program has to be something that can go through a phone. It can go through a video chat. It does not have to be by standing in the middle of an arena and coaching the rider. And the basic idea was is that it was, I'm not the horse trainer and I'm not the non-pro coach. I am the mental trainer, the mental aspect, I would say, professional, to help riders work between themselves in their inner game and bring it into action every time they go ride their horse, ride with their trainer. And of course, even if you're an open rider, as much as that could be effective for us. So this workshop is called the Peak Performance Mindset Workshop. And it talks about what I consider the foundations of mental toughness, is overcoming unseen barriers that hold us back from reaching our best riding ability the second we walk into the show pen. And in this workshop, I'm trying to touch some different um, pressure points, different situations that I believe every equestrian rider deals with. Doesn't matter if you're a reiner, a cutter, all-around rider, jumper, dressage rider. I mean, if you're riding a horse and you're being judged, you deal with this reality. And in this workshop, we do two things. First of all, we talk about the untalked about. We spread knowledge. We bring things that we all feel, we all aware, but we usually keep it between us to ourselves. And now we're bringing it up and say, all right, this is reality. And then you look around and you understand that you're not by yourself. Everybody's dealing with the same reality. So the first thing is, like I said, it's knowledge. It's expanding or exploring this field. And the second thing, and more important, what your friend called it homework, I rather the word exercises or training sessions. That it's about taking it home with you and starting to practice at it. Uh, we all go to ride our horses, and we want to practice certain maneuvers, certain speeds, certain things we want to do in order to get ourselves ready to show. And the same thing here. It's training exercises and techniques that riders can practice on a daily basis, monthly basis, stepping into the horse show, and with the basic approach of maximizing our ability. When a rider is performing as good as he can in that point of time, he is absolutely mentally tough. He is overcoming anything that can stand in his way from reaching his peak performance.
So yeah, no, I think homework is probably not the right word. Exercises and just, that kind of stuff is very much probably what she meant. But yeah, my friend is actually a world champion rider. So she is by no means new to the horse show industry. And I've been friends with her for 20 plus years, and we grew up in the show industry together. And well, but it's still relevant for her. It doesn't
Yes.
matter how long you've been in the industry and how competitive you've been. You can be a world champion, you could be a novice going into the horse show pen for the first time. It's also relevant and it's also important. And I'm so glad that we're finally talking about the mental aspect of it, because I think in other sports, it's something that is quite commonly talked about. And, there's such a mental aspect to a lot of sports, and we forget that it's just as important in the horse industry.
Yes. For what you said, I mean, I couldn't agree more. I'll tell you one thing that's very important. The higher level the rider is, the more aware he is to the importance of his mental state. So, I'm fortunate to work with $1 million riders up to down to green reigners showing for their first year. And I can tell you, each and any one of us can take something from it. We all have mental barriers, and sometimes it's about the 1% that can make a huge difference, and sometimes it's a long-term process that will help you overcome anxiety, excitement, underperforming because certain reasons. It's very important for us to realize something. We choose to live a competitive life. We choose to enjoy the thrill of victory, but suffer from the agony of defeat. We choose to be observed, judged, and evaluated on our riding abilities. And in my point of view, that means a lot about a person that's his choice for his way of life. So once you make this big decision, because we can all be, weekend riders, or I mean, not to challenge ourselves to walk into the show pen, because that's something that nobody forced us to do. But by the second we do that, first of all, it means that we're strong people, and second of all, it means that we should have the tools to understand how to overcome any barrier that comes along the way from living a competitive life.
I never thought of it like that, because that's really true that we do choose to go into the show pen, because we could just, practice all of this and stay at home and just stay in the practice pen. But I
Exactly.
never thought of it that, we choose to go into the show pen to be competitors, and that should mean that we have the tools. And so kind of going off of that, you are a competitor. So how does that
Yes.
play into all of this?
Okay, so a lot of my work is based on personal experience. I can say I was fortunate to be in different positions in this competitive industry. I mean, I was a youth non-pro rider, I was an assistant trainer, I was a head coach and a head trainer with my own business. And now I'm also a client for some young trainers in the US, having horses with them. So for me, the life experience told me that you cannot ignore it. You cannot ignore a reality that can play in your favor, but can also hold you back from reaching your goals and achieving your dreams. So I would say that mental athletics is a journey. It's a journey that starts way back from the first day I walked into the show pen, and it's heading towards a direction that I want to reach every competitive rider and hand him something and tell him, listen, you have a chance to be at your best. It's not going to be easy. Nothing happens instant, you know, it's all part of a process. But as much effort you put in your horse, in your riding, if you put that effort in yourself, you'll be able to reach two important things. One is peak performance, walking into that show pen and being proud of how you show. But the second thing, and that's, I would say, more important, is the well being of living a competitive life. You know, we have many reasons to be frustrated and disappointed and hold ourselves back. And mental work, mindset coaching is putting down well being as part of this process, being stronger every day, being more committed and more confident in my personal ability, and understand that I'm not competing against other people. I'm competing against myself. Every time there's a glass ceiling that I'm stepping up, breaking it, and then keeping up my journey up there. And that's the amazing thing about our world, our life as competitive riders.
Yeah, I was gonna say, I feel like every time we walk into the show pen, yes, we are competing against other people, but we're mostly competing against ourselves and just trying to improve ourselves and make ourselves better. And I know even for myself, when I'm winning, it's like the mental aspect is like super easy. But when you're in that struggle phase, just trying to be successful, I know that that can be really, really hard mentally. So, do you have any advice or anything that you could give people who maybe are on a losing streak or just really struggling in the show pen?
Um, okay, so to give an advice off the bat is a challenging thing because everybody comes with a background. First of all, what we call the inner voice, that voice in our mind that can be our best friends, but still can also be our biggest enemy. And I think that inner voice is something that we can handle and we can control. Not everything is, I would say, natural, comes up, and if you have, you know, this negative mindset that holds you back, you can snap and get away from it. But nothing is meant to be. I mean, everything is flexible, everything can be changed. And if you're in a bad streak of performance, you should ask why. And the second question is, how can I step up from this bad streak of performance? We can, you know, we can find, I would say, excuses or reasons for anything that doesn't work. But, you know, if we put attention in our improvement, sometimes it's the invisible 1% of change that can make a big difference in our work. And I tell you, I mean, have the chance to work with riders. Some of them are telling me, "Listen, I'm coming to the biggest show of the year. It's the most important thing for me, and I want you to be on my side, help me, you know, go get it." And that's one way. But I also have riders that come to me and tell me, "Listen, I mean, things don't work. I walk into the show pen and I feel that I'm freezing. I feel that my mind is running 1,000 miles an hour and I'm not riding to my ability." So in those two different riders, you come with different approaches. But the idea is that handing them down some ideas, some I would say setting goals that they can achieve by working towards that direction. And one thing, you know, one of the biggest challenges in the mental aspect is confusions. When I have many thoughts, many feelings that I feel that I cannot control them. At that point, we put down order and organization, and we understand what helps us step up our game and what makes us or what holds us back. And once things are in front of our eyes, then one important thing happens. We can make the decision. Not always will make the greatest decision, but once you make a decision, you're committed to what you're doing, and by that, you're stepping forwards towards where you want to get to.
I've definitely been there where I freeze up walking into the show pen. In fact, like I said earlier, I have a very extensive horse show background, but I took 10 years off. And last year I went and I showed a cow horse for the first time ever. And I was like, I was pretty chill and I'm like, all right, whatever, it's just another horse show. And I got to that entrance and the end gate and I was like, oh my gosh, like I could feel my chest pounding and I really had to sit there and kind of get into my own head and be like, okay, study your breathing. Like I've done patterns probably a million times. That's not anything new, but for some reason it was just like I got this like overwhelming feeling again and I hadn't had it in 10 years because I'd walked away from the show pen. And so yeah, it's so important to be able to not only, look at it from a logical point, but just like control your feelings and your emotions and, go in with that game plan. And like you said,
Hmm.
sometimes it's not the best decision, but until like you make that decision, you don't always know.
Exactly. And by making that mistake, that's your best chance to improve. When we're in a good streak and everything works for us, sometimes we feel that, we're there and the challenge to improve ourselves is weakening. But actually after those bad runs that you're super disappointed and you don't sleep at night, you're like, oh, I can't believe I did that. That's your opportunity to go back home, practice, and come back next time better, and stronger and hopefully perform much better than you did the last time. And I mean, I never met any rider that it's like a smooth uphill journey. Life, a competitive life is ups and downs. And when you're up, enjoy it. When you're down, enjoy it because that's your chance to climb up again and see the nice view from the top.
And I have to say that as much as it's so nice when everything goes according to plan and things are great and you're, sitting at the top, but it would get very boring if things were perfect all the time.
Yes.
So yeah, you're
Yes.
so right. Enjoy the ride, enjoy the highs, enjoy the lows. It's going to push you to be a better person and a better rider and a better athlete.
I tell you that I never met a rider that quit riding after a bad horse show. Never. But I met riders that had like a good year, a nice horse, everything went well. And at the end of the year, they were like, oh, you know, I got the idea. Maybe I'll do a different hobby. So sometimes it's the difficulties that keep us in it and keep us motivated to keep on improving and get the most out of ourselves and out of our horses. The thing is that we haven't talked about yet here that I believe that our sport, equestrian sports, are one of the most unique sports in the world because we live by individual sport mindset. I walk into the Chopin and show, and Michaela do, and then you, Nicole, walk into the Chopin and we want to, score the highest score we can. But reality is that every time we walk into the Chopin, we have a four-legged teammate with us, and success is dependent on the teamwork between me and my horse. Now, I don't believe the most talented rider wins horse shows, and I don't believe that the most talented horse wins horse shows. I do believe that the best teams do. We all been seen those, this rider and his horse that just seem like everything goes together, like everything works out for them. It doesn't matter. Every time they walk into that Chopin, it just looks the same. It looks good. And this is, for me, what is the idol of performance. And when you have a good team between a rider and his horse. But saying that, we must understand that we choose to live a competitive life. But I don't believe that horses live the same competitive life that we do. I don't believe that a horse, when he's walking to the show pen, he knows that those, six gentlemen sitting around the arena are giving him scores. He's scoring him. He doesn't. He knows there's people sitting there. He understands that something is going on, but he doesn't know that he's getting score in his performance. And here is what is the X factor of the mental aspect. How does my mindset affects my riding that affects my horse? And this is why I believe that when you see top level riders can ride different horses and still do good because they have this ability to to have a strong line between their mind, their body, and their horse. And once you reach this connection, you're in a good place. Your chances to succeed, your chances to peak perform just are higher. And that this is what I believe the goal of each and one of us as a competitive rider.
Yeah, and I mean, being a competitor with an animal is so much different than any other sport because we're just trying to communicate with them through our own language. And I know that there have been times that, even when I'm having a good mental day, there's just a hitch in the communication and we aren't able to get it done. But thanks to having a good mental mindset, I'm able to go back home, fix what I need to do, and then come back stronger again, which is, always beneficial.
Yes, yes, absolutely. I think that many times we put a lot of, we all know how the equestrian industry looks like. We put a lot of time, effort, and money, a lot of money in this sport. And the reality is that we come with expectations. We put all this, energy into what we call coming to a horse show, and then we expect from ourselves and a horse to perform. But the idea is that expectation is the wrong word when we talk about this special team. We shouldn't expect our horse to perform. We should help him to perform. And in which way we should handle the pressure for the team. When you think about it, it's a team sport now, as I try to picture it. It's not an individual sport anymore, but it's not a regular team. It's not like, let's say team tennis. You got two players that communicate verbally between them. They understand each other and they've been practicing together for a long time and they come to games. They have their certain way of communication. But when we're coming with the horse, we're the ones that go through the pressure. And when I mean handling the pressure, it simply says being a leader of the team. When we're confident in our ability and confidence in a horse ability, we can guard him from the competitive pressure. We can understand a little bit what goes in his eyes. I'll give it a short example. Going to a horse show. So a week before we leave, we set goals, we prepare, we're all excited, and we pack a suitcase. If it's a small horse show, we pack the same day we leave. If it's a big horse show, we have that suitcase in the side of our bedroom waiting for us to leave to the horse show. But when a horse is going to a horse show, he wakes up in the morning, we take him out of his stall, we put him in a trailer, he doesn't know why and he doesn't know where. And all this uncertainty is a very challenging reality for that animal. And once we understand the difference in the mindset between us, the competitors, we understand that the horse is the athlete. As a mental coach, this is the basic understanding. I consider the rider the competitor and the horse is the athlete. We're the one that need to deal with the competitive pressure, and the horse job is to walk into the show pen and perform his best athletic abilities. And when we come to this with this approach to a horse show, the way we ride him, the way we take care of him, the way we guard him from the round noise. I mean, for horse, think about it. We practice at home riding couple horses, maybe five horses in the arena, and then you walk into the practice pen and the night before and there are 30 horses loping around. And for us it's obvious, but for the horse it could be something that is very much um, effective. It can get him simply out of his game. And if we understand that, we have the chance to put the puzzle together, all those pieces, and get ourselves and our partner ready to show.
I've never thought of it like that, but I really do love the way that you break down how the rider is the competitor and the horse is the athlete showing off its athletic ability, because that's so true. Everything that you said is completely true. The horse does not know that he scored a 75.5 after his go. All he knows is he got a pat on the back and maybe a couple treats.
Yeah.
But it's so true, and I can relate in a personal experience with the cow horse that I talked a little bit about earlier. When I first got him and first started riding him, he's won about $50,000. So it's not like he didn't have experience in the show pen, but he was at the point to where he was running away from the cow in the show pen.
Hmm.
And you don't really want a cow horse that goes the other way from the
Yeah.
cow. But yeah, it's like, his mental, being able to be confident in my decision making and be the competitor and be able to say, it's okay, I'm here to support you, I've got you, this is what we're doing, I'm not going to put you in a scary situation, has just changed how he is. And I haven't had any of those problems.
I couldn't agree more. And I think this is the nice thing. I mean, this is what I discover along this work and this exploring this field of mental training and mental coaching. The idea is that when you provide the rider with the knowledge and with the power to handle the game, he's guarding his horse. He's taking better care of his horse, but not only on the grooming side, it's the training approach. Let's put our hand on the heart and say the truth. Many times we've been riding our horses in a certain way because we were stressed, because we were anxious, because we were excited, not necessarily because the horse was misbehaving. So, and again, I'm touching the what I consider, I mean, the elite riders. I believe that elite riders know to make the difference between when they're going through pressure and when it's time to put the pressure on the horse in order to maximize his athletic abilities. And once your emotions are out of this process, the chances for you to reach your goals and treat your horse in a better way are going up high. And I believe this is the core idea of what we're doing here.
Yeah, well, I know for myself, it's kind of a tough thing to hear, but also it's a good thing for me to hear because there are times where I've gone to compete at very, very large events, and I think that I'm a very talented rider. I obviously made it to the event, and then I get there and my horse tries really hard and I am totally failing my horse the entire time. But it's just because I don't have that ability to separate my emotions and my mental ability from the competition at all times.
Hmm. Hmm. And this is the reason I decided to step in this field and reach out riders. A couple years back, I had a really interesting interview with somebody, and she asked me, "Who did you have when you were a young rider that was helping you in the mental aspect?" And I told her that was the problem. I didn't. And looking back today, if I had that person next to me, and helping me get my mind in the right place, I know I could do better. I know I could achieve 1 point better when I walk into the show pen. I know I could overcome mistakes that up to today I still remember them. And it didn't make sense for me that there was nobody to help me then because I was an assistant trainer for elite trainers, and the pressure was on me to 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 perform as best as I can. So the mental coaching, having this person next to you, I never tell a rider how he's supposed to ride. I never tell a rider how is a horse supposed to feel because that's not my job. I help my rider gets his mind in the right place, that he's riding as good as he can, and therefore he's helping his horse perform to his best.
Well, and they always say it takes a village. And I think the more we think about it, the more it's true because, you have your horse trainer and they are very important and critical to your success in the show pen. But
Hmm.
having somebody to be your personal coach for your mindset, it just adds to that competitive ability that you're able to take into the show pen. And I just think that the more we can bring this idea and make it more of a common practice, because I still think to this day, we're a lot more riders are getting into the fact that they need to have somebody there to help them with their mental abilities, but not everybody does that, especially, in the Western industry. Sometimes they just want to do it themselves a lot, and it really takes a village. So I think that people can really learn a whole lot from having somebody like you on their team.
First of all, thank you for this compliment. Appreciate it. I tell you, I totally agree. I tell you what, my perspective is primarily as a horse trainer, and when you think about a horse trainer, when he comes to a horse show, he has so many things to take care of. He needs to take care of preparing his horses, preparing his riders, taking care of the stall, cleaning, feeding, hauling, signing up the riders. I mean, you got so many things on your mind as the head coach. And then you still have that non-pro rider or yourself as a competitor that who's helping you. And one of the biggest things that I do with riders is, first of all, understand that it's a triangle. It's the rider, the trainer, and the mental coach. And good communication, healthy communication, goal setting are part of this triangle that is here to maximize, performance and hopefully, reach our goals in this life chasing toward our dreams to make finals and to win big horse shows. And this is the nice thing about it. So yes, I agree with you. It takes many people to achieve success. It comes down to our farriers, to our vets, to good feeding. So all these things together are have one goal in front of their eyes: success. The success of the rider, the success of the horse, and the enjoyment of this sport.
So just now you kind of talked about, how the horse trainer has all this going on and the non-pro has a whole certain different level of needs and problems and things they need help through. Do you find that the way that you work with professionals differs from the way that you work with non-pros, or is it all kind of the same philosophy? I mean, you coming from somebody who was a horse trainer and has lived that lifestyle, I'm sure it's really great that you can relate so well to these people, because horse trainers, they go through a lot and it's very hard, and it's their career. If they aren't doing well, in the show pen, that's their career on the line, and that can get into the way mentally the next time you go into the show pen.
Yes, absolutely. So first of all, the answer is yes. I have a different approach working with a trainer and working with a non-pro. The frame is very similar, but my job is to find the best way this certain rider can peak perform. That's my job. My job is to help him organize his thought, set his goals, and make the right decisions from the second he's walking in the competitive environment, the second he's reaching the fairground, up to the moment he's walking out of the show pen. Now, of course, when you work with a $1 million rider, you have a different approach than when you work with a green rainer. They're living two different realities. For me, my biggest passion is working with competitors. If you're here to get the maximum out of yourself, if you're up to the challenge to put all the time and the effort into it, I'm here for you to help you. So yes, the techniques are different. The language is a little bit unique to each individual, but the frame is: how much motivation do you have to reach your goals? Now, I'm not a very motivational speaking fan. I believe that whoever made the choice to live this life, he's motivated enough. I don't need to convince him nothing. The opposite. I need to clean all the, round noise, all the what holds us back, negative thoughts, perfectionism. That's our biggest enemy. We're all perfectionists. We want everything to be perfect, but it's holding us back from stepping up our game because our focus is many times on the negative aspect of our performance instead of the productive and positive aspects of our performance. So one of my biggest jobs is understanding what are your strengths, what are your weaknesses, and how you're going to use your strength to help you reach your goals, and how you can work through your weaknesses to improve them by at least 1% every time.
Well, I think that's something that's important to note is that your weaknesses really can help you improve. We have our strengths, and this could be totally wrong, but I feel like if we focus a little bit more on our weaknesses in a positive way, then we're able to use our weaknesses to generate a successful career in the show pen.
Absolutely, absolutely. If you can divide it, if you when we think about a horse show, if you can roughly divide it to two parts, so I always call it the practice period and showtime. So when you think about it, during the practice period, your job is primarily focused on your weaknesses, how to improve them, strengthen them, step up your game. But when you walk into the show pen, your focus is primarily showing your strength. And the balance in between the two is what we consider the game plan.
I again, I've never thought of it that way, and it's so true that, when we're in the practice pen, it's always focusing on our weaknesses and what we need to improve. But the minute you step into that show pen, it's all about showcasing your strengths and getting as many points as you can in those maneuvers, because you know that you have it. So I've been showing since I was 10 years old, and I'm now in my 30s, and like you're blowing my mind with some of the things that you're saying, and I love it.
Yeah, thank you very much. I appreciate that. So this is the idea. The idea here is bringing something new. It's bringing a fresh approach to what we consider the game. And the game here is very unique from different aspects. I mean, you can open YouTube and look at 50 different videos of training your horse. Doesn't matter in which field you are. And here we're talking about the competitor, the rider, and the journey that the riders go through. And we talked about the workshop we do. Not everybody is in a place to work with a personal mental coach and come to every horse show with a mental coach working with you, for many reasons. But those workshops are part of expanding knowledge, is spreading that word. And from here, from Israel, I was giving this workshop for a large amount of riders from Oklahoma and Texas area. And this is the idea. If any of them took one thing from it, I'm sure it's going to help him step up his game. I'm sure it's going to affect the approach they come with to show, and also they know they can they have somebody that they can come to if they come into different challenges. I mean, if you're in rough times, or you're coming to a big horse show now in the reining industry, the NRBC is coming soon, and many riders are talking to me because it's an important horse show, and everybody wants to do good, and you want to have the highest chances to succeed. And the mental aspect is a big part of it, because a big horse show mindset is different than a weekend horse show mindset. And it's not a different rider, it's not a different horse. So why should we let us affect us when we come to those big horse shows? So this is part of the game. This is part of the dialect we go through in the pursuit of the competitive life.
I know Nicole and I were so excited when we were going to get to talk to you. And I feel like I have learned so much. And you just said that you hope that anybody who does your workshop just takes, one thing away. And I feel like anybody who listens to this podcast episode is going to take something away. And it's not like you even, took a deep dive into what you do. I feel like we just barely, touched the surface of everything. And I know that I took things away. So hopefully everybody who listens to this podcast can take just one little piece away and go improve their competitive edge.
Yeah, absolutely. I appreciate what you're saying. Yes, I mean, this is the thing. We're here living a very um, community life. There's something that connects all equestrian riders. Doesn't matter if you're a Western rider, English rider, horse racing, or whatever, for whatever field you're coming. we have a strong connection. We have this passion to this animal, and if you choose to live a competitive life, so you have this passion to challenge yourself, and if it's here, let's handle it in the best way we can. And this is part of this special journey. I mean, I'm fortunate to see riders around the world just performing at their best and handling this game in with a new approach. When I have a rider that walking out of the show pen after not a very good ride, but he has a very positive mindset and he knows how he can analyze his performance and get better for the next time he's walking to the show pen and not let this bad run come into what we consider our self-esteem, our the way we see ourselves, because it's a never-ending story. The nice thing about our sport, we start when we're young and we can keep on showing till we're 80 years old. So if you're in it, you can always improve.
It's very unique in that sense. So you've talked a little about your workshops, and with COVID, obviously this has all been very virtual for you this year or this past year. But normally you do like in-person clinics, and I believe actually you and I were talking before this, and you actually had to cut your United States clinic tour short last year because of coronavirus. Can you talk
Yes.
a little bit about your in-person clinics and what kind of things you guys cover in that?
Yes. So the in-person clinics, it's first of all, I mean, that's the best way to work with people, face to face. And I love when I have a chance to meet those people in person and work with them, and and get the opportunity to make this connection. Now, in these clinics, what we do is the biggest shift is that we do primarily focus on the mental aspect. That means off the horse kind of clinics, but we have the option to bring the horses in and practice some of our mental technical techniques that we teach riders, and during these clinics practice them and understand how we implement them in our performance and the way we ride our horses and the way we show our horses. When we show, it's our mind is constantly working, and it affects directly the way we ride. And when you make this connection in the clinics that we do worldwide, it's by no means it makes a stronger effect, and it's something that you can feel. One of the biggest challenges of the online networking communication that it's about speaking. It's talking in a way that people can understand you. But the feeling of implementing a technique when you're riding with that mental coach, it's a whole different deal. And hopefully we'll be back to it soon. The COVID is still here, but I hope reality will come back to what we remembered. But don't get me wrong, for what I do, it could be this COVID pandemic was one of the best thing that happened to me, because up to a year ago, when you tell people, oh, I'm doing workshops online and Zoom sessions and WhatsApp, they're like, what is that? How you do that? And now everybody is using this way of communicating. So in that point of view, it did a lot good to our program and to our work, and hopefully keep on reaching more and more people, Northern America, Southern America, Europe, and even we have some riders in Australia that it's a great thing to have.
So for anybody who wants to keep an eye out for your in-person clinics or to join you online or wherever they want to find you, how could they look you up and find out more about you?
Okay, so we have mental athletic website. It's mental-athletics.com. We have our Facebook page, Mental Athletics, and our Instagram page. First of all, and in any of those forms, you can always text us, message us, and we'll reach back to you. And that's the best way you can reach. I'm always open to talk to people. I hardly ever communicate them on emailing back and forth. Usually, when somebody's interested, we give them the basic information he needs to get. And our second offer is let's have a short phone call. And we're having a 10, 15 minutes phone call getting to know each other, understanding how we can advise you, how we can help you, what are you looking for, and from that point on, I mean, we're getting things done and setting, you know, times for the workshops, the one-on-one session, our show training um, program, and hopefully sometime soon the to back to travel and come to do the clinics worldwide.
We're keeping our fingers crossed that
Yes,
we
yes.
can get back to that. And we're going to be doing some more stuff with you in the magazine and digitally, and I'm really excited for those to start coming out. And so the Horse and Rider audience is definitely going to hear more from you and learn more from you, and I'm really excited about that.
Appreciate.
But thank you so much for doing this, and thank you for taking time out of your evening. I know that it's getting a little later there, and we're here in
That's
the
okay.
morning. So thank you so much for taking some time out of your night to talk with us.
Thank you for inviting me. You guys are doing a great thing, and I appreciate that. It's been a pleasure. And yes, I mean, let's keep on working on that. It's a never-ending story. Knowledge is power, and let's get the most of what we can. So again, thank you for inviting me to be part of this podcast. And like you said, the future things we're gonna do together. Amazing.
Thanks again to Weaver Leather for sponsoring today's episode.
Thank you guys for tuning into the Ride Podcast. We hope you enjoyed this episode, and please be sure to subscribe wherever you listen to podcasts.
Follow Horse and Rider Magazine on social media and find us at horseandrider.com. If you guys have any questions or comments, please be sure to hit us up at horseandrider@aimmedia.com. We want to hear from you guys.
And if you like what you're listening to, be sure to leave us a review on iTunes.
How many stars, Michaela?
5 stars, please.